Ooh, that's a little bigger. Oh, so I'm doing that thing today that I said, oh, I could do that one day. And so I put the text in the bottom right corner here, fingers. I'm not paying attention to the chat today, but I decided to leave it on just in case anyone wants to, like, in case y'all want to talk amongst yourselves. This is while this is live. And I don't know. I'm just gonna go, and we're gonna see what happens. I could have left the overhead light on today because I was like, well, I don't want, I don't want a face cam if I'm like not gonna be paying attention to the chat. I guess if I really wanted to, I could turn on my laptop webcam, but it's fine. But because I'm doing it this way, I didn't set up my other thing, and I could have used both cameras, but I didn't, so it doesn't matter. I had to pull the decks that I wanted to use out of their container before I did this because I'm not going to be able to access them now because the tripod is in the way. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 ish, 15-ish decks plus the 4 that I always have out to choose from. So hopefully, I'm sure that in the midst of all this, I'll find something. I don't know how long this is gonna be. I can pull up a sticky note if I want to timestamp anything, because I might do multiple. So I'll have this note here. Darn it, but I'm not paying attention to YouTube time. So I don't know how I'm gonna know what my timestamps are, but oh yeah. Oof. I'm not gonna know the timestamps. I guess I could just like pull up the timestamp real quick though. I can just do that and look at the timestamp. Or I can't. Where's my time? There it is. Okay. All right. So let's wait. Can I do this? Can I do this? Yes, I can. There we go. I put this here. I put my little sticky note here, and I can see the time. Nice. Uh, it's fine. This is the part where I'm like, I explain the thing that I'm gonna do that I might not actually do. Okay. So I decided to start with the Diceology because it's general enough. Or I'll look at astrology first. And then I'll see if there's anything that I wanna um, get into or look at from there. Because why not, you know? So let me pull out my handy dandy smartphone. The chart right now, though, the planets have moved a little bit, so it's gonna be different. But oh, I didn't even change the thing. It's fine. This is the chart right now. Oof! Wow! No, no. Oh, this one might have. I don't know. Because that's the one I was looking at. And I was like, ooh, it looks like some kind of before that third green line was up there. I was like, it looks like some kind of flower. But whatever. Oh, I'm looking at the transits. I don't know what I'm doing today. So chart details for today. It's the 26th of March. Q1 is almost over. Sun is 6 degrees Aries. Chiron is 11 degrees Aries. Taurus has Uranus at 12 degrees and the North Node at 23. Black Moon Lilith. No, that's just Lilith. Lilith is at 22. Black Moon Lilith is in Gemini. Scorpio is holding the South Node at 23 degrees. The Moon is in Capricorn at 25 degrees, about to conjunct Pluto at 28 degrees. Saturn is holding, or Aquarius, excuse me. Aquarius is holding Mars at 15 degrees, Venus at 19 degrees, Saturn at 21 degrees. That means I'm like 2 degrees away from my Saturn return. Pisces is holding Jupiter at 20 degrees, Neptune at 23 degrees, and Mercury at 28 degrees. So, where's Uranus? Uranus is only at 12 degrees. So that's no sextile there. The trine is broken there. The sun is at 6 degrees Aries. So doesn't look like any major aspects there. Oh, wait, I literally have an aspects that I can look at. So can I change the orb on this? Raw angle view. What does that mean? To like 5 degrees? I don't think I can. That's fine. Conjunctions. The Moon and Pluto. No. Let's go to the other ones. Oppositions. Doesn't look like there's really anything. Squares. Mercury is squaring Black Moon Lilith. Venus is squaring Uranus. Venus is also squaring the North and South nodes. Mars is probably squaring everything that Venus is because they're so close. And Saturn. Saturn is squaring the nodes. Nah. I will look at this nodal axis though. 23 degrees. Oh, snap. I'm going to look at the Sabian symbols. For 23 to 24 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. If I can find my little thing. I'm going to title this just like Rambling. Rambling. Where's my edit? What? 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 There we go. There's my title. Ramblins. Okay. And I might as well pop this up. Move this out of the way. Put this back over here. So that I can do this if I need to. Force it to autofocus again. Zodiac, here it crosses of the Sabian symbols. And I'm looking for 23 to 24 of fixed signs. Oh, why is the text so big? Oh, not the brightness. Okay. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll get one of these. That'll be North Node Taurus. This will be South Node Scorpio. And then this will be the Aquarius Leo. And these. Actually, I'm going to pull as this is before and after strength and the star. I feel like I should turn that overhead light on. Why are these? Do I have reversals in here? Hello? Sure, let's keep them. No, let's not. I'm going to go turn the light on really quick because this is tall. Isn't it? All right, what is difficult? Minikui? Is Minikui difficult to see? Miru is to see. I think Nikui is like tough or difficult. Hey Siri, turn off lamp. Don't need that anymore.
Okay, the lamp is off.
Oh, you can see my little leg. Oh, other way. All right. Everything is what everything is, and it won't be what it isn't. So I'm looking for the star for Aquarius and strength for Leo. Ooh. I guess Leo's going here. It's coming out with the Magician and Death. And then the star. Wait, I'm putting these on top. There's the star with the Emperor and the Seven of Pentacles. The Five of Swords and the Hierophant. Actually, I'm going to take that. Oh, that's Taurus. What? Five of Swords is also Aquarius. Second, 2, 3, 4. First decan of Aquarius. So, let me get into these now. So 23 to 24 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. I'm using this. It's called Crosses of the Sabian Symbols, Loosen the Energy of Your Astrology by Beck Louis. B-E-K first name, L-U-I last name. And it was on, I like search Sabian Symbols books on the Apple bookstore. Maybe it was $1, maybe it was free. But I like this one because it does the zodiac in crosses. So fixed energy, cardinal energy, mutable energy, and it gives you all 4 Sabian symbols for that degree within that modality, and then it sort of tells a story. So Taurus, 23 to 24 degrees, is a mounted Indian with scalp locks. Leo is an untidy, unkempt man. Scorpio is crowds coming down the mountain to listen to one man. And Aquarius is a man turning his back on his passions and teaching from his experience. The theme of this cross, I'm literally reading it. The theme of the cross is the tension between ego and humility, which is interesting because I think it was last night on Twitter. I saw something that was very that. And I don't even remember what it was. It was somebody on some podcast or something. And it was talking about the ego and the soul. And I forget. I feel like it was something like how we overcome our own personal limitations to achieve the things that we like dream and desire of. We dream of and desire. The theme of the cross is the tension between ego and humility. Taurus's Indian is a successful warrior. The horse represents power. Scalp locks represent victory. Society might judge a warrior as courageous, bloodthirsty, or psychopathic. Warriors, though comfortable in war, may find society difficult, feeling lost and lacking purpose and pride, going back to Leo, which was the untidy, unkempt man. If the warrior role and the attendant trophies are taken away, is she or he left with nothing but an ego crisis and memories? PTSD, mental illness. When Scorpio transmutes all these experiences into a relatable story fascinating to others, we find Aquarius's teacher. And again, Scorpio was crowds coming down the mountain to listen to one man, and Aquarius was a man turning his back on his passions and teaching from his experience. Aquarius's passions could refer to addictions, to winning scalps, perhaps, going back to the Indian, that are antisocial, Leo. To become a teacher, one must humbly see oneself as only having a small part in the development of a student, as it is the student that must apply themselves to the teachings and learn. Aquarius's teacher, therefore, gives up both ego and passions to share his experiences with students. Scorpio's crowd and man down the mountain continue the sense of humility. The top of the mountain means exaltation and victory, but learning occurs when we are lowered. That is, acknowledging we are not complete and there is more learning to do. Scorpio symbol also means that growth and achievement can occur at any place, not just the top. Sometimes we need to take a step backwards or sideways rather than a relentless ascent, because there is reflection and rest and a deeper understanding to gain. The loop closes into Taurus if Aquarius's teacher sees students as fans, returning to Taurus's energy of gathering devotees as scalps. The conqueror, they conquer their students. How many can I convert? Who do I choose to be my disciple? Or the teacher collects trophies, teaching awards, better job titles. This cross warns of the narcissism some teachers have. So choose one who doesn't want worship, you'll be safer. Spiraling upward, Taurus's warrior collects awareness of internal selves, each with their own desires and patterns, to master and claim each self's powers, as per voice dialogue, Stone and Stone Indie. It's a reference to something that I don't know the reference to. A branch of Jungian psychology. So let me read that again. I'll start from the beginning of that sentence. Spiraling upward, Taurus's warrior collects awareness of internal selves, each with their own desires and passions and patterns, to master and claim each self's powers, as per voice dialogue, a branch of Jungian psychology. The cross describes how the stories of someone on the edge of society, Taurus's victorious warrior versus Leo's pariah, become valued for the wisdom, Scorpio's crowds, Aquarius's teacher. So one more time, I'll read where it refers to the entire cross. So the theme, I'll read all of them again, and I'll go through these. So Taurus, a mounted Indian with scalp locks, is a swaying tower that is moments from toppling, clouded vision and burning lands, and a powder keg, the nine of spades, which is equivalent to nine of swords, and here's five swords up here. That's where the north node is. South node is on Scorpio, crowds coming down the mountain to listen to one man, and that one man is an abrupt change of season, the vision catching up to fantasy, the filling of valleys and falling of mountains. Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Pentacles, which is interesting. I don't like this angle. Hold up. Sorry, I'm going to adjust this. Because I don't like it. See, I still don't know if I like it. Oh, I wanted to do this too. Please wait. I know I was like in the flow and everything. Because I want this to be the same as what I see. And then I'll flip it this way and it should be good. There we go. I still don't really like this, but it's fine. It is what it is. Now you can't see the Five of Swords at all. Maybe I should have left the. It's fine. It'll be whatever it is. Okay. So this is how I see it. We have the same perspective now. Great. What's interesting though is we have the filling of valleys and falling of mountains, which is sort of leveling the playing field, and then it talks about people coming down the mountain. Um, so the Leo Aquarius axis is the Black Joker, prophetic dreams, inspired action, tapping into the other side, with the Leo side holding the Magician and Death, and the Aquarius side holding the Seven of Pentacles and the Emperor. Now, Leo is currently empty. Um, it's not holding any bodies, as far as I'm aware. And Aquarius is holding quite a few. It has Saturn, Venus, Mars, and there were some other bodies in there. The other bodies are Vesta, Icarus, and Juno. Juno is actually, so Venus is at 19 degrees Aquarius, Juno is at 20 degrees Aquarius, and Saturn is at 21 degrees Aquarius. Vesta is at 7 degrees Aquarius, which means that it's actually sextiling the sun at 6 degrees of Aries. And Vesta, the Vestal Virgins, they held the flame that was supposed to always be lit in the Empire of Rome, in the Roman Empire. Vesta is also at the hearth. Is Vesta the goddess of the hearth? And then Icarus is also loosely conjuncting or loosely sextiling the sun, but that's going to get tighter, I would imagine, as the sun moves closer and closer to 11 degrees. The sun is what melted Icarus's wings, though. And this cross did talk about humility. The theme of the cross is the tension between ego and humility. So, talk about Icarus. Icarus and Aquarius and the sun in Aries. I feel like Icarus and Aquarius and the sun in Aries, there's something that could be about dreaming bigger than or aspiring to more than we're capable of. But not in the sense of like we dream too big. It's like in the sense of maybe it's like we need to be more aware of our own capabilities, of our own faults, of our own gifts. Just we need to be more aware of ourselves altogether. And especially as Jupiter and Neptune are coming into a conjunction with Mercury still sort of in the mix. By the time they conjunct, Mercury will be gone. It'll be in Aries, I'm sure, at least. But it's like there are things that there are resources that we could utilize to make up for anything that might be deficient. But without that, and I feel like it's more than just going back to the word velleity. It's more than just us sort of being aware of our capabilities. I think it's also about us being aware of our desires, right? It's like if you have your stereotypical bored Aries and your Aquarian vision, it's one that takes time. Then some phases of the completion of that thing might have that Aries energy like lose interest. Then it can be a little page of Wandsy where it's like, you know, as soon as things slow down, then they're on to something else. They're on to the next thing. Or Knight of Wandsy. Or any suit of Wands. Honestly. It's like it might not have the drive to sort of stick through it in the slower parts. And so it might miss out on things. But again, it's like if you know how you are. And if you also are aware of your environment, and if the environment is what copacetic enough that there's some cooperation, then maybe there are things that you do, and then there are things that you outsource, or there are things that you get someone else to help you with, right? Like maybe you contact a financial advisor when it comes to, or someone who's good with money, if budgeting needs to be done, or if like some accounting needs to be done. Like if you're the type of person where it's like you, and it's not even a type of person thing, it's like because the things that we're most excited about naturally catch our attention, and like that's naturally where we want to spend more of our time, energy, and effort. And so it's like if you know that's the case, then look into maybe someone that you can trust handling the things that um, like the little details, the boring bits, the stuff that you don't want to do. And that brings in a Virgonian energy, and Mercury rules Virgo. But because Mercury rules Virgo, it's at detriment in Pisces. And that's also, it's at fall in Pisces, sorry. Oh, look, Aquarius with the Emperor and the Seven of Pentacles. The Emperor is Aries. The Seven of Pentacles is the attention that we need to give a thing in order for it to grow and thrive, and in order for the harvest to come by the time we reach the Nine of Pentacles. I guess the Nine of Pentacles would be the time of harvest, and then the Ten of Pentacles would be after the harvest. You know what I mean? Because in a lot of Nine of Pentacles cards, the crops are like full grown. And then the Ten of Pentacles, it's like, oh, it was a good season. Let's take the kid to go see grandpa, and we'll do whatever, right? Now, on the Leo side of things, Leo doesn't currently hold anything. So I don't know if that's the pocket where, like, if that's the cauldron that everything else is placed in. This will be a T square energy, right? And my special aspect astrology is rusty. So, but I think in a T square, the one sign that isn't present is kind of like the way out of that, or it's how we sort of can make the opposition and the squares a little easier. And with that being in Leo, Leo being the sun, and we have the magician and death here, it's almost like give time, energy, attention, and effort to the things that you want to see thrive and flourish in your life. It's very much where attention goes, energy flows. But I think, too, because death transformation is here, and because of I love this magician because this reminds me of the other one, where all the tools are sort of like in their own harmony and balance, and his hand isn't on any one because he understands the flow of all of them. It's a very mystic magician looking card. It goes back to whatever kind of alchemy has been coming out lately, and understanding the elements as they relate to each other, so that if you want to produce a change in one, there are things that you can do in the others to help sort of make that happen. Especially if you were cross pollinating, question mark, co-creating, maybe more so. Um, but it's like there are different kinds of attention. I feel like traditionally I've heard a lot of like, it doesn't matter if it's good attention or bad attention. If you're paying any kind of attention to something, then you're proliferating that energy. It's like if you're manifesting, I don't want to be broke, the universe hears I'm broke. And so you're broke, even though you're manifesting not being broke. You know what I mean? But it feels like for the things that need to be transformed. It's like, how do you transform something without giving it attention? I guess there is the way of devoting all attention to something that is not that thing. Like if you have a caterpillar to a butterfly, right? Instead of, it's like focus on the butterfly and the caterpillar will change into that butterfly. But for some reason, it feels like it, and especially with the care and the attention to the things that we don't necessarily want to do, to the things that we're less excited about, the things that need to be done in order to make sure that the thing comes to, it survives long enough to be reaped when it's time to harvest. Um, it is an energy that is kind of sort of like if the caterpillar doesn't eat, the caterpillar isn't going to survive long enough to go into the cocoon. And if something happens to the cocoon, then the caterpillar, like, it's not going to be there to break out into the butterfly. So it's not to get lost in the minutia of the details again, but there is some kind of, not contingency, but some kind of something that needs to be done in order to ensure whatever. And again, going back to that outsourcing energy, going back to the energy again of co-creation too. And the reason why I love that Leo is here is because Leo, being the sun, is one of the life givers of our solar system, right? It gives life through light and warmth and hope, I guess, when the sun comes out after it's been storming. Um, and light is not an absent element. You know what I mean? Now, there are things that do, I guess, fester in the dark, but still, anyway, regardless, it feels like it's more about that. I mean, you need the sun to, help the plants photosynthesize whatever they're photosynthesizing over here. So back to this. So the theme of the cross is the tension between ego and humility. And then the cross describes how the stories of someone on the edge of society become valued for the wisdom. I feel like that sentence is incomplete. Become valued for, oh wait, how the stories become valued for their wisdom? Maybe. I feel like this is one of the longer crosses and it's more involved, but that's fine. And then the Five of Swords and the Hierophant. I think the Five of Swords and the Hierophant, it kind of goes back to how I was saying, um, it's like how a lot of old beliefs, a lot of how a lot of ways in which we would try to change things in the past was to like basically ignore it or to pretend like it wasn't happening. It was to neglect things further. And in neglecting things further, somehow solution would just manifest itself. But with the Five of Swords over here, it feels like there was a surrender of things. And so now this energy, it's like instead of in the typical Five of Swords, it's like someone who's defeated everyone else and their weapons are on the ground, and you have the losers walking away in the back as the victor stands victorious with all the swords. But here it's like this is everything that we leave behind when we don't give attention to those things. Now it's like fair game for anyone or anything to just come in and pick up and to take that in whatever direction they choose. Because attention is how universal witness within us sees the things before us. Again, sort of going back to the things that fester in the dark when the sun isn't there, when that awareness isn't there. And then this is inspired action too on this axis. It's also prophetic dreams. And I think on another side of that, it's a very sort of appropriate energy. And maybe that comes in through the Seven of Pentacles. And it also comes in the energy of the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Diamonds in the South Node in Scorpio. Um, look, prophetic dreams and then the vision catching up to fantasy. Love that. This is the swaying tower, and the tower is literally at the bottom of the deck. A powder keg, and then this explosion in the tower. I didn't even catch that. Oh my gosh. The Queen of Pentacles I love because the energy of the Queen of Pentacles is it's an energy that knows how to nurture things. And it knows how to nurture things in the way that the thing needs to be nurtured. The Queen of Cups also knows how to nurture things, but it feels like the energy of the Queen of Cups nurtures things how sort of like she feels they should be nurtured. The Queen of Cups is almost very like, if I were in your situation, then this is what I would want. So I'm going to give you what I would want in your situation. The Queen of Pentacles is more like, I understand what you are asking for and what you need. And although this might not be what I want or need, and it might not be what anyone else wants or needs, I'm going to give it to you because this is what will get you where you're going. You're no one else. I'm not going to take care of you if you're a begonia. That's a flower, right? Begonias. I'm not going to nurture a begonia like it's some kind of cactus. And I'm not going to nurture the cactus like it's a begonia. They come from two completely different environments. Again, they need different things to grow in different levels and different concentrations. And even if it is the same thing, maybe they need it in a different way, or one of them needs it more frequently than the other. And that energy, again, it comes out here. And so where I was getting was with the sun being in Aries, melting the wings of Icarus and Aquarius, maybe it's also for us to not do too much on our own. And so in that, maybe it's to reel in those passions a little bit. And that was Aquarius, right? A man turning his back on his passions and teaching from his experience. What's interesting about this is, though, there are 9 zones, or it's the 9 of zones and the teacher of realms. And zones are air, realms are earth, but usually the zone precedes the realm. It's like air is getting the permit to build on the land, and then earth is like the actual building on that land. But it's like we're farther on earth, even like sort of physical, mental. We're farther physically than we are mentally. And so there is some kind of disconnect here. But again, with the 5 of Swords and the Hierophant, it's not surprising. Because with Hierophantic energies, a lot of times there's a lot that we leave up to the Hierophant. And it's not a bad thing. But it might get us used to and accustomed to doing less. I don't want to say less than our best. It's just like we become overly reliant on things outside of us to get things done for us. And when it comes to the situation, when it comes to the time where there are things that we must do, where we must participate, then we're not necessarily in the practice. And maybe that's this abrupt change of season. Maybe the abrupt change of season within Hierophantic energy, the Hierophant and the Emperor are both right here. It's almost like maybe while the Hierophant was in control, Emperor energy has been going through its rebirth. And that's, the rebirth of the masculine and the purification of toxic masculine energy, the birth of more divine masculine energy that's capable of participating with feminine and divine feminine in more divine ways. But this abrupt change of season might be how almost all of a sudden, like, things are just sort of different, how things have just changed. But it's like also with the vision catching up to the fantasy, prophetic dreams and inspired action, again, it reads as like, for us to get the things we want, there are things that we must do. And it's not even necessarily a like we have to do it, but it's just like participating in the creation of the thing that we want, right? Like if you're building a house, if you're not personally building the house, if you're having a house built, then you'll talk to the architects and the interior design and the landscape architects, and like for every piece of that property, you will communicate your vision in order to ensure that what's built is what you desire. And then when we participate in something and when we collaborate and we communicate those things, there is, when it's not what we wanted, then, we throw a fit or whatever, but that's besides the point. It's like when we participate, when we communicate, when we're active and a part, and then it comes to fruition, there's the reaction that happens internally within side. There's the reaction that happens within, the reaction that happens inside us at having that communicated dream, that collaborative effort, even if your part was just to say what you wanted, where like when it succeeds, then it's almost like joy compounding because of everyone involved. Not that there isn't joy for those who do the things that no one told them or reinforced within them or that encouraged them to do, because I'm sure there is. But for me, myself personally, I'd rather it be like a celebration with everyone rather than like you didn't believe in me, but I turned around and did it anyway. Like, okay. Some people love those experiences. And I feel like we need people like that because there are things, and I feel like that carries a lot of that Aries energy. It's like there are times when we need to move forward, progress, advance, evolve, where change is necessary, but it might be inconvenient or it might not be supported for whatever reason. And in those times, we need the people who can do the thing without the encouragement, or who can do the thing despite all of the discouragement and degradation and all kinds of stuff. There's a part for everyone to play. And maybe that's another sort of opportunity within the Sun, Aries, Sextile, Icarus, Aquarius, where it's like we find our part and we play that part in the grander vision so that it actually comes to pass, so that it comes to be. Because every piece, every person, every part is necessary. And sometimes, you can make do without a piece or part in some way. Sometimes if one person's out, someone else can step up. So it can be done, but it's like it's not ideal. And I think it's also, again, for us to be satisfied in the part that we do play. But we kind of sort of have to know ourselves a little bit, not only know ourselves, but be comfortable with ourselves. And I feel like there's a lot of self-focus here in environments and situations, in metaphors that are extremely communal. But again, at the end of the day, the only person that we can control is ourselves. And I like the swaying tower that is moments from toppling up here, because there was a sort of self-centeredness in a lot of hierophantic teachings that don't promote necessarily, some do, some don't promote difference in beliefs, if we're talking about the Hierophant, to the point where we refuse collaboration or cooperation or cohabitation. because of differing beliefs. And how it's almost like there'll come a time when, or maybe there's come a time when we need to work together. We need to participate beyond our ability to do so in the past because of how we viewed and interacted with difference. And sometimes the way that we view and interact, sometimes we interact with difference the way we interact with difference because of the things that we need to keep our own egos healthy. It's like how some people need to be like better or smarter or prettier than someone else in order to be comfortable within themselves. Or how it's always like, well, someone has it worse than you, so you should be grateful or blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, yes, you should be grateful, but your gratitude shouldn't be based upon what someone else does or does not have. A lot of self-worth is actually comparative, which also can lead to issues. And maybe that's an example of how we can give attention to things sometimes with good intentions, but I guess in poor taste is not. It's like the attention that we give could be intended for good, but it's actually could be potentially harmful to the self and the psyche. And it's almost very that conditional love energy. Bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks. I love it. Seeing the internal through the external. Queen of Clubs, which is a Queen of Wands energy. And we talked about the Wands, folks. There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of air at the top and fire at the bottom. Because the Tower is traditionally, no, that's Mars. Fire is judgment. Judgment is fire. Well, Mars rules what? Aries and Scorpio, both fiery signs, even though Scorpio is water. Scorpio is like Martian water, so it's basically fire. It's fire with feelings. It's fire. Well, I could say that about Pisces. I'll say it's fire that'll burn you and feel bad for burning you, or a fire that will get pleasure out of burning you. It's Scorpio. Who knows? But also could be Pisces. Also maybe could be Cancer. I don't know. I feel like Cancer would be more of a. It would be different. Anyway, Cancer might be like a freezer burn instead of like a burn. Anyway. This more fiery dynamic energy down here with all of this airy swords, spades, Hierophant up here. And then this fire air, it's like everything is sort of pushing down here. But I guess that's what happens when you put pressure on a thing. Do I have anything? Oh, I don't have any kind of band or something. I do. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I don't have my. Oh, darn it. I don't have a rubber band or a hair tie. I know I had a hair tie. I just wore one yesterday. Don't remember where I put it. I ain't got my little rainbow band. So imagine here's this circle, right? If you put pressure here, it's going to squeeze out this way. And if there's something here, it's going to all come this way. Right? See how my fingers are like going in? And so again, it's like everything sort of gets squeezed out through this Magician and Death. With strength, mind you. I want to put Whispers of Laura Ganesha. I was going to say, I want to put something else on top of this. If this ain't determination and what was it, spiritual guidance? Oh, look, courage at the top of the deck. With the lion. Fun fact, a whole bunch of lions kind of sort of popped out for the first one when I did the pick a fact. And then when I was about to do number 2, I pulled up another fact that was about another lion. I just want like one of these, please, to sit on top of this. I said one, but protection is there. It wasn't one card, so I'm gonna put you back. Sorry, not sorry. Oh my gosh! Ah, oof. This is one card. Clear your energy. Oof. Okay. For some reason, I can't hold on to cards anymore. It's fine. Empowerment and beginnings. Oh, I could have took those two. Empowerment and beginnings. Clear your energy. Oh, that's too many. Belonging. Nurture. Acceptance. Decision. And achievement. I feel like belonging, nurture, acceptance, decision, achievement, that's like pretty much all of this. This is like all of this. I think belonging is the space where we're coming out of like us against the world, me versus them, in order for me to have someone else can't. Right? It's coming out of a limited mentality of the finitism of things on earth. And then with nurture, it's very much it's intercommunal, it feels. Again, it's like when everyone's doing their part. Acceptance is when everyone within that sort of reaches the same space. And it's where we're comfortable with what we all have to give. Comfortable with what we all have to give to the point where we don't minimize our own contributions by saying, oh, like, I'm only doing this and they're doing da 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 da. But the da 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 that they might do might not require as much from them as you might think it does. I think sometimes when other people can do things that we view ourselves as being incapable of doing, we project that there's so much effort that they're putting into doing it because we know how much effort it would take for us to do it. But for them, it might be easy. And then it's like, oh, you make that look so easy. Well, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But acceptance, it's the energy where, again, like we're good with what we provide, we're good with what other people provide, and other people are good with what they provide and good with what we provide. And so it doesn't become this game of who did more, contributed more, deserves more, blah blah blah, whatever. And then decision, it feels like that's the space that we reach after the belonging, nurture, and acceptance, where we can come together and make those hard choices and decisions. A wise king who settles an impossible dispute. I believe that's the king of hearts in the discology. And it feels like it's some of those decisions might be hard because when we go into them with the mentality of if one person gains, then someone else loses, then there will always be victors and losers, and no one wants to be the loser. So they're going to fight. But when we can sort of view things as like, we all benefit, and if there are challenges, we'll work together to overcome them. That's when we reach this achievement energy. And I love that achievement is a step above the decision in the tens place and the ones place. It goes from 31 to 42. That's that's a difference of 11. 39, 38, 38, 39. Wait, 41. So again, it feels like that's the space that we're being asked to step into collectively. Again, with Aquarius being the age that we're in, with Aquarius being the progression in the movement and the furthering, like the humanitarian energy of Aquarius and the advancement in Aquarius. But again, with the sun being in Aries, with Aries being the sextile, I feel like Aries is a little volatile. Aries can be exactly what we need, though. Aries is Aries season. It's when the buds take that leap and bloom. It's where all of it's like we gather all of the energy together, and then in one shot, in one burst, we do the thing. So it's again, Aries energy isn't meant to be necessarily sustained. It's not meant to be like Sagittarius, maybe, or Leo. It's not meant to be Leo, fixed fire, where the sun is always up there. You know what I mean? Sun ain't like a candle. You light the wick, and then when they run out of wick, they go bye bye candle. When it runs out of fuel, bye bye fire. Now, maybe the sun has fuel, but it's a lot more fixed than Aries. It's a lot more persistent. And I think that's something also here. There's the thing about persistence and consistency. And that's what plants need to grow. They need consistency. We need consistent emperor energy and not impulsive emperor energy. Then what was under this? Clear your energy, which is this feels very like battling one's own internal struggles, and there might be some kind of upheaval within oneself too, because of all these like floating rocks and stuff. It's also a very sort of nuclear energy. And nuclear energy comes with questions of management and like management or mismanagement, previous intentions, and how that can affect our perception of a thing to the point where we might not even allow ourselves better or more because of how it was used and how it was intended in the past. It's also sort of not precarious, but it's energy that you have to pay good attention to because it's not necessarily volatile, but it requires attention. It requires nurturing. And then beginnings and empowerment. I thought I had a 32 for a second. Well, if you add the 1 to the 31 and then flip it, you get the empowerment. So if we add beginnings on top of decision, which is that inspired action energy, and then we flip it, then we become empowered within ourselves. And not only do we become empowered within ourselves, I feel like we become empowered more collectively too, because we see ourselves as capable of more. It's like how our faith in humanity would increase if we were given reason for our faith in humanity to increase. Again, going back to the eventual decision and achievement when we come together and think more collectively rather than even tribally. And I feel like that's a duality to empowerment that I've never necessarily consciously thought of or recognized before. How sometimes when we ourselves are empowered, but again, that makes sense, especially if we're talking about communal, community, collective endeavors. If we're talking about like being on a team, if you feel better about yourself and your contributions, then you're going to feel better about the team because you feel more confident and capable in doing your part. And if you're doing your part, then of course the team is going to do better. Of course, everyone is going to be better off. Is that? At first, I was smelling some kind of food smell that just smelled like grease. Now it's smelling like fried chicken. Ooh, I'm getting hungry. It's fine. But yeah, it's like, of course, and that goes into the energy where it's like, the collective is made up of individuals. So as you do within yourself, it automatically adds value to everyone around you. Well, it would automatically add value to everyone around you if you are someone who adds value to everyone around you. If you're a Four of Pentacles hoarder, though, then that's what feeds that in order for me to thrive, others must suffer energy. And it's the Four of Pentacles that's incapable, energetically disaligned, to the reciprocity that is the Six of Pentacles, that keeps the world turning, that makes things grow closer and closer and closer to the 10, the more verdant and fecund energy. That's the flow. But there are so many blockages and stoppages within the flow because of perceived reality, that it's almost like there are things that are already in existence that don't grow to the size or magnitude that they could, because of I don't want to say like capitalistic thinking, but I guess it is interesting how there will be people who overcome challenge and adversity, and their response to others being in challenge and adversity would be, well, I did it, so you can do it too. Rather than, man, that sucked. I hope no one else goes through that. If I could help you get through it, then I will help you get through it, because I know how much that sucks. But again, you know, can we even blame the age of Pisces for that? Or is that just, who we became? Anyway, it's changing. An abrupt change of season, a swaying tower that is moments from toppling. Very sort of apt. And for that to happen when the North Node is in Taurus and the South Node is in Scorpio, also kind of appropriate. And that's a Mars Venus. That's Mars and Venus outside of their dominant energy, though. No, that is Venus in her dominant energy. It's Mars outside of his. Venus in the feminine element of Earth, Mars in the feminine element of Scorpio. Rather than like Mars, or rather than Venus in Libra and Mars in Scorpio. Or Venus in Taurus and Mars in Aries. Okay. That was cool, I guess. I feel like there was a lot in that. Bottom of the deck is fulfillment. I didn't read any of these. I guess that's fine. I like fulfillment though, because all of this, again, it feels like it leads to it's just such like golden age, golden era energy. Speaking of golden age and golden era, again, because of all the things that we're not compensating for, because of all of the ways that where we don't view ourselves as less than or others as more than, when we can appreciate what we do and appreciate what others do, and there is no need for competition because we're all so empowered and whole within ourselves that we can just appreciate the people who can do things that we can't. Or we can appreciate the people who do more. We can appreciate the people who do the things that we don't want to do. We can appreciate the people who do the things that we're glad that we don't have to do. We can appreciate the people who can be those. And it almost goes back, it makes me think of human design and how there are different types, and the different types do different things within society. Some people are the initiators. Some people are the ones that carry things on. Some people are the ones who shift and change and cause pivots. Some people are the ones who can kind of sort of fit into any role. Some people are the ones that don't necessarily fit in anywhere. And those people have the opportunity to make the whole thing a lot brighter. And it's almost very much so like art. How you could argue that art serves no objective purpose or function, but it enhances life at the very least. You know what I mean? It leads to enjoyment. And I'm not necessarily going to say it makes life worth living, but it makes living life a whole lot more tolerable. You know what I mean? I kind of like that. Oh, sorry. These cards almost went everywhere. I kind of like that for the collective. And it's interesting that that's so early. It's the 23 to 24 degrees. So we still have 0 to 23 degrees that these nodes are going to be in before they shift into Aries in Libra, which is interesting. So right now we're in feminine dominant Venus Mars nodes, and then we're going to move into masculine dominant Venus Mars nodes, with the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So maybe it's a good thing that the masculine is being reborn and the time is being reborn as we move before we come all the way into a North Node Aries energy, because North Node Aries could be very much so every man for himself. North Node Aries could be very much so everyone so self-absorbed and self-centric and just so focused on doing the thing that they want to do that there is no consideration to anyone else. And again, it's not necessarily that there has to be consideration towards other people in the way that we sacrifice something within ourselves. It's just the space where we reach that point of an alignment. What I desire aligns with what you desire, aligns with the direction that we all in general sort of desire. And the things that I want and the things that I bring and the things that I chase and choose lead to greater alignment and satisfaction and joy and peace for everyone, because of the part that I play in the collective, because I'm not Four of Pentacles hoarding all of this, because I'm Six of Pentacles sharing and contributing to the Seven of Pentacles harvest, so that when we Nine of Pentacles reap, there's a world or a more global Ten of Pentacles abundance that we participate in. And I think that's something that it can be sort of difficult to understand sometimes, depending on a lot of things. How giving and sharing and being open and receptive can actually benefit us more than being focused solely on ourselves. But again, it's like, if you think about it from a worldwide perspective, it kind of sort of makes sense. Unless you do literally everything by yourself, it makes sense that the more you give and the better life is for everyone else, the better life will be for you. You go get a coffee, your barista will be happier. You go to work, your boss or your subordinates, if you are a boss, will be happier. You're working for a company and, the I don't know. It'll be better. It could be better. I don't want to say will be, because could be. We're humans, so we live in a world of could be. I'm actually gonna go. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna go for the Magical Dimensions Oracle cards and activators. I was gonna go for the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards, but yeah. I mean, no, they had their time. They had their moment. They might come back out. They might not. Who knows? Ooh, girl. I love a synchronicity. You see that empowerment? Now, this is a 13 empowerment. Death came out with the Magician. This is an active empowerment. This is an empowerment that goes out into the world and it does things. And it makes this not necessarily dreary, but not as colorful world a whole lot more magical as she's on her unicorn. You know what I mean? Love that. Love that. And trust. There's the 42 again. The mirror of the 31 and then the 42, because it was 31, 42. 31 was decision, 42 was achievement. Now we have a 13 empowerment The 13 that was on the death card, also mirroring decisions, empowered decisions, inspired action. And again, in trust, that same achievement. And I can kind of sort of see that. I can see it being difficult for people to trust people too. So, oof. Imagine manifesting a collective ascension and not being able to trust other individuals within that collective. Call me out, me. But I've been working on it. My journey has led me to be able to trust a whole lot more than I was able to in the past. I actually have more faith in humanity than I thought I did. I didn't think I had that much faith in other people until I reached a certain point within my own journey, I guess. And I was like, aren't we better than this, though? We deserve more than this. We deserve more from each other. And we deserve more from the world. But the world can't give us any more than we give to it. The world can't give to us any more than we're able to receive from it, is a better way to put that. And it can almost be the energy of, like we accept the love that we think we deserve. And we accept love how we think love should be shown. And sometimes how we think love should be shown and what we think love is again going back to that nuclear energy of what it was in the past and how it was used. And what it was and how it was used and how it was displayed and shown, that affects our perception of it. So there are people who be like, I don't want love. And maybe they really don't want love. Or maybe when they say they don't want love, they don't want what love was in the past. But was that love? Solar Portal 36, going back to that Leo energy, bottom of the deck, is oneness. So we got a 33 and a 36, 369. I'm going to find the first 6 and I'm going to put it in between these two. And it's 15. A 15-6. We have Utopia and Releasing. Releasing came out when I used the Threads of Fate Oracle cards. It was the Underworld, Patience, and Release. The Underworld, Patience, Release, that was Fact 4 with the Kaaba. I don't know how to pronounce it. And I think I was actually thinking about that. Oh, look, 32. That's the 31 plus 1. And then 43. Oh, look. There's a difference of 11 between the 32 and the 43. Between Releasing and Utopia. Between Decision and Achievement. Okay. So let's see. I guess I'll... Ooh, and I'm going to pepper some in-between tarot in between. I don't know how long I'm going to be live today. Maybe not that long, because if I keep smelling food, I'm going to get hungry. I wasn't even that hungry before I started this. Oh, look at that. Between the Tower and the Star. I love that, because the Tower was down here. The Tower that is moments from toppling, and then the Star that, was Aquarius. So we're in between Mars and Aquarius. Mars is in Aquarius. So on one side of Mars is Vesta and Icarus. On the other side of Mars is Venus and Saturn. In between these two, in between these two, and then down here. The 9 of Cups into the 10 of Cups. They're like, oh my gosh, welcome to the good place. You're in the good place. But it's when the good place is actually the good place. You know what I mean? If you've seen The Good Place, you might know what I mean. I don't know what I mean because I haven't finished The Good Place. I still need to finish the last season. But it's this person who's walked away from one community because it's after the 8 of Cups, and she's, about to be welcomed into another. So that's like, when we might feel that, oh my gosh, I'll never find, or blah, 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 blank. I'll never find fill in the blank. And it's, if fill in the blank is something that we desire enough, sometimes we stay in situations well past our time because we desire the thing more than we desire the person or people or company. And if there's a feeling that we're not going to find it outside of that person or place, then we stay there. Sometimes it's a matter of the time that we spent there. It could be anything. But this is after we make the decision to walk away. That may be difficult decision to walk away, especially if we don't think we're going to find. Excuse me. But then we discover that there's even more. There's even better. And better, not necessarily in a comparative sense, better in the way that they bring and offer things that we wouldn't even know to ask for. And it's not necessarily the anticipation of desire. It just feels more like the space of alignment. There are things that it is aligned to within us that we're not even aware of within ourselves yet. So, between oneness and exploration, well, oneness first. Oh, look, it's half. The first 6 that I got was half of the 3 that I started with. So, from 3 to 6, it's like we go in half, but the half actually doubles, which again, I feel like speaks to the energy of the 8 of Cups. When we finally do walk away from that thing that we are so attached to for whatever reason, and then we find ourselves actually in a space of being able to, at the very least, being in a position to, at the very least, because able is a different question, but being in a position to receive actually twice as much. But that kind of makes sense, right? If you cut it in half, then you have twice as much room. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Well, half is 1/2. Twice is 2/1. So I guess if we cut it in half, we would expect the return of that half, but in reality, we actually get double what we lost. What's under this? This card is peeking out. Between the 4 of Cups and the 5 of Cups, which sort of completes this illustration, right? When I was talking about there's the thing that she had to walk away from in order to find herself in this new place. And then we have between the King of Cups and between the Queen and the King of Cups here. The King of Cups, I believe in the Discology again, is the energy of a wise king who settles an impossible dispute. So, oneness, balance, patience, and divine masculine energy. Bridge to exploration, boldness, unknown and limitless through the Knight of Swords, going into the Queen of Swords. And then that bridging into the solar portal, being centered, balancing power and manipulation when out of balance, through the Queen of Cups into the King of Cups energy. And I love that the bottom of the deck, to sort of stand in the place for the exploration in the middle of this, is the 9 of Cups into the 10 of Cups, backed by the 4 of Cups into the 5 of Cups. Which again, it lends back into that energy of when we have the courage and the audacity to walk away sometimes from the very thing that we feel, to whatever degree of certainty, is our happiness. And again, like, we walk away from it. We don't walk away from it just to walk away, right? There's reason to do so. And then we find even more. boldly stepping forward into that unknown to enter a world of limitless potential. And it feels like that limitless potential, the realization of that limitless potential is tied to our ability and capability to receive. Right? This feels like, oh my gosh, that's the Ten of Cups. A stargate that leads to, that's the Ten of Hearts in the Discology. And this is the Nine into the Ten of Cups. And I just saw it yesterday or whenever I was live last. I'm pretty sure I used the Discology cards. A stargate that leads to fantastic places. It feels like oneness is the place that we know, it's the environment that we're familiar with. And in that is this star next to the Todaiji Great Buddha, which was 2, which was fact number 2. But anyway, it feels like this star next to the great, oh, you can't even see it. It feels like that star next to the cosmic Buddha is this gate in exploration. And the other side of that leads us to the sun. Solar portal. It's interesting that we go from a knight to a queen, from a queen to a king. And that's the air and water. And it's also interesting because last time I was live, I got the page of air, the herald of the zephyrs, and the herald of the waters, page of air, page of cups. And I talked about how the first time when I was live and I used the other edition of the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, it was the page of earth and the page of fire. But we're out of page energy now. It's about the knight and the queens and kings. The queens. The kings. The kings and queens. But it kind of feels like we meet this energy halfway. It's very much so, oh, well, maybe that's this energy. It's like as we are going on our path, there's something else that is coming to greet us. And we meet in the middle. And in the middle, we build out something new. Which is interesting. Because it feels like space that is not, it's like, it feels like undefined space. But again, that undefined space, it's because of the participation. Right? It's like if someone's going to build you or give you your dream home, life, partner, whatever, less partner, more home, more life, because a partner is a person. Um, but anyway, maybe partner. If someone is going to build you something that you really, 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 really want, it would make sense for them to ask you. Or it would make sense for them to, at the very least, know you well enough to give you the thing that you want. Like, actually know you, not like think that they know you and then give you something that you don't want, but they think that you want it because every time you got something similar, you were like nice or polite. You're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is something that I like. I really wanted this. Thank you. but it was like your birthday or Christmas, or it was nice. It was the gesture. It was the thought that you really appreciated the thing, maybe not so much. But you do it so much that now they actually think you want it, just like how my mom, for whatever reason, thought that purple was my favorite color. And she was like, I remember one day, it was a few years ago now, maybe five, between like 8 and 3 years ago. Um, she was like, "Isn't purple your favorite color?" I was like, "No." And she was like, "I thought it was. That's why everything that I bought you was purple." Like she would buy my one brother red, the other brother like blue, and she would buy me purple. And I was like, "Is that why everything you bought me was purple?" I literally always wondered why everything that you got me was purple. I wondered why I always got the purple one. No, that is not my favorite color. I don't remember what was said back, when I was a youngin, still coming up. Maybe at one time I did like purple. I have no conscious recollection of, like, I remember yellow and pink being my favorite colors. I remember when I moved to grays. I remember midnight blue. Don't recall a purple. Don't know where purple came from. Maybe somebody had something purple and I was like, oh, like that's cool. For whatever reason, though, she thought purple was my favorite color. And like one of the things was like a CD player. I was like, oh, now I can play CDs that I don't own, but thank you. um Back in the Walkman, like after the Walkman, but before the MP3 CD player. So it wasn't like a big one, it was one of those more portable ones. But yeah, I remember when she told me that. I was like, purple is no. But I did wonder why everything you bought me was purple. But anyway, it's about the participation in it. Again, it goes back to the participation and the fulfillment of that. And that's why this in between space feels extra limitless. Almost like it hasn't been defined yet, you know? And I feel like it also it opens us up to living life, right? Because as we live life, there are things that we find out that, one thing leads to another. And maybe there are things that we like. Maybe our tastes change too. So there are things that we didn't necessarily like earlier in life or at a certain phase in life that we grow to really enjoy later in life. And it's like it's a way to account for all of the things that we desire without offering us everything that we desire up front, to the point where it's like, well, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Where life sort of loses its majesty. Well, not life, because I don't know if life is necessarily capable, but it's like if we're given everything that we want all at once and there's nothing that we ever want again, then it's like, okay, well, I don't know. I just feel like life would get kind of boring. It's like I have already literally everything. It's like when you have a lot of something and all of it sounds good, but you don't really want it. And you don't know what you want. It's like, well, I could do this. I could do that. Those are things that I typically enjoy, but today I just feel like something different. I don't know what, but just something different. You know what I mean? Maybe not. I think also with the Queen of Cups into the King of Swords, it gives us the opportunity to come into ourselves. And to come into ourselves in a way where we learn ourselves rather than just sort of like being. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the Knight of Swords into the Queen of Swords is also about. It's that period of learning. and inquisiting. Not inquisitioning, but inquisiting. And there is a certain completeness in oneness. Both of these mention balance, though. The solar portal is balancing power, oneness is balance. The solar portal is being centered, oneness mentions patience. The solar portal mentions manipulation, where oneness mentions the divine masculine. Emphasis on the masculine and on the manipulation, more so than the divine part of that divine masculine. But that's again the solar portal when out of balance, it can tend to manipulation. And I wonder if that in some way speaks to reclaimed spaces. It's almost like a walkabout, maybe in some ways. Oh, look at the sun. Look at the sun coming out up here. You see that? I'm not even looking at the screen to know if I'm actually, you see the sun up there? And then the solar portal is like up here. So it's like sort of coming from the direction that the sun is in. Interestingly enough, who is this? This two of coins. Between the two and the three of coins wants to keep showing itself. Maybe it's that infinity sign, as above, so below. Well, potentially. As within, so without. More so. More than above and below, it's within and without. In this particular, it feels. Because the above is limitless. It's capable of providing anything. The limitation isn't on the above. The limitation isn't on in that context either, the without. But again, it goes back to this is all about our capacity to receive. But it's also about pride in oneself. And not a distorted way, but pride in oneself when it comes to sort of like what we're willing to subject ourselves to. And maybe that's something that becomes pride eventually. Maybe in the beginning, it's more of building self worth. Because, I mean, I guess technically it's after the Eight of Cups, it's the 9 into the 10. So that walking away has already happened. So we can be in that space of pride. Maybe there were places and situations that we were in before that we just knew that we were better than. And it's not better in comparison to people in specific, it's better in terms of treatment and in terms of environments. It's like, it almost it makes me think of like, my self-esteem might not be the highest, but I know that I'm worth at least being treated better than X, Y, or Z. Like my worth and my value might be low, but at some point it's like, okay, I have to have a floor to this. There has to be a bottom, even a rock bottom. And I'm kind of sad I didn't pull out the Enchanted Map Oracle cards now because it has a rock bottom in that deck. But it's like there's always something below rock bottom. Rock bottom is where we sort of draw the line. And we say not less than this. And when we say not less than this, it feels like in some way that eventually leads to us again developing a healthier sense of self, or a more robust and a more solid sense of self. But sometimes it takes us sort of experiencing or being exposed to that which is intolerable, especially for sustained periods of time. It just like it reaches that point and then it grows from there. And I love how, there's a whole journey in the clouds here. First, the clouds bring this Ace of Cups, this jar. Aquarius, the water bearer. I'm just playing. I mean, it is, no, not even air. Oof, this is Cancer. It's the third decan of Cancer, though, which is the Piscean decan of Cancer. And Pisces, dreamy, with Aquarius out there. They're related. Neptune and Uranus. Okay, Neptune and Uranus. They out there. Pluto is also out there, but they say that Pluto ain't a planet no more. So Scorpio, you just get Mars now. You have no Pluto. Sorry. I'm kidding. But first, the clouds, it comes and presents this thing that neither one of them can even see. And at the same time, the clouds here are undefined. Even as she finds herself in this space or being welcomed into this space, it's still undefined. But in the Knight of Swords, we see that it's taken the shape of the horse, which is the thing to move us forward. And now it's like after we move forward, the clouds can dissipate because it's lived. It's like that is the jug that was offered in the four, but now it's on the ground. Like message received, product delivered. Now the clouds can part ways. You know what I mean? Because the thing has already landed. It's already in the experience. It's already on the ground. Now, in this card in particular, no one's looking at it, but at the same time, it's like maybe they don't need to because they know it's there. Could you even see those? I'm holding it where I can see it, but I don't even know if I'm holding it where you can see it because, again, I wasn't looking at the screen. So. Okay. I kind of wanted to go a little further than that, but I'll leave it there. Is there a deck that I just want to use that I haven't used in a minute that's on the table? I don't think so, actually. Bottom of the deck is going to be the Three of Swords into the Four of Swords, which is an energy of making peace. Making peace with everything. I've made my peace. I've done what I can, and I realized that I was who I was, and you were who you were, and they were who they were. But I can't allow that to continue to be. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to become different. I won't even use the word more. I'm going to become different. And when I become different, I'm going to realize that I was who I was and you were. Did I already say that? Because at first it's like, this is the I am who I am, you are who you are, they are who they are. But I want different. And when I become different, it's going to be I was who I was, you were who you were, and they were who they were. Not to say that you can't be different and that they can't be different. But it's the space where it's like, this is the thing that I need to do for me. This is where we reach that point where we have to do something for us, for ourselves. We have to do something for ourselves. The card that came out is the Ace of Wands into the Two of Wands, which is literally going on that journey with the Two of Wands. The Ace of Wands is to have that idea, that passion, to be a light. This is the opposite of velleity. This is to have the wish or desire, but to also move through it. And I love that almost like moon and sun imagery here. But again, with this being the Ace into the Two of Wands, it's the space where I have to, there's the thing that I have to do. And then they're going to go do it. There's also the 1 into the 2, the 3 into the 4. So there's some kind of progression there. Oh, here's the box. I think this might not be 5 hours long, which I feel kind of indifferent to, but also I feel like if it were 5 hours long, I'd have a little bit more of a point. Let me do an inside all signs video where I run through the zodiac And I don't care how long each one takes. So I might be here for 5 hours. I feel like sometimes I could go. Oh yeah, releasing at the bottom of the deck. Releasing in the third eye portal with adventure. Oops. And emotional freedom. Okay, yeah, girl, I'll take that. Emotional freedom, adventure, the third eye portal, and releasing. Here's a 39, 12, 3. And a 12, 3. Lots of threes. I had to look for a 6. Oneness, third eye, emotional freedom. Third eye portal. And then exploration. I feel like this is everything that gets us to this exploration. So with oneness now coming out, or with these now coming out on top of this, I feel like this is a sense of self. This is a self image, but it's limiting. It's a limited self image. It's a limited self view. And so there are things that we see ourselves as not capable of, or there are experiences that we see ourselves as not having. There's a whole life that we see ourselves, a whole life that we see as like never being ours. And the third eye is that Four of Cups energy. So this takes me back to the determination and spiritual guidance. It was the Whispers of Lord Ganesha, where it was the capital I versus the EYE. And there were things that it's like the divine was sort of tempting us with that Ace of Cups, the thing that we could envision that could never, like it would never be our experience. Again, going back to the stuff in the clouds, and then at the Queen into the King, it was on the ground. So it wasn't as out of reach anymore. The clouds were dissipating. The more we see it as a real thing, the more it is our experience, the less it's like clouded and shrouded and Neptunian, right? Neptune holds the things that we aren't yet experiencing. And it feels like here there's a limitation that we put on the experience. And so those things get trapped in the land of Neptune. And maybe in the land of Neptune, they warp into illusions and, deceit and stuff like that. But it's almost like it becomes deceit because we don't allow it to be the experience. Again, going back to our level of acceptance. This was all about our level of acceptance, even more so now. We see the thing with the third eye. And then we, somewhere between seeing the thing and then eventually experiencing it with the sun, it coming into the light, it being the experience, us being consciously aware of the thing rather than just like vaguely, like emotionally or spiritually or energetically aware. Like this is a subconscious energetic awareness. This is a more conscious, concrete, physical experienced awareness. But with emotional freedom, we release ourselves of those limiting beliefs and things. And so now, as we release, going back to the releasing, and look how they're both sort of in the water, emerging into this space of emotional freedom. I love that. As we release those things, we open up those abstract, energetic, etheric concepts to become our actual reality. And again, it's like if we don't feel worthy of being, for example, if we don't feel worthy of being loved, it can be easy for us to not allow ourselves to be loved. And so maybe we don't find the type of love that we truly desire because at some level there's a belief that it'll never be ours. And so it's like, even if that love were to come in, even if it were to slap us in the face, or not slap us in the face, well, sometimes it kind of be like that, right? Sometimes it hits you. It's like we wouldn't accept it. We shouldn't. People, obviously, like people who love us shouldn't slap us in the face in a physically abusive way. There should be like no abuse when it comes to love. So that's where the metaphor falls apart. But when it hits us in the heart, where we really feel it, maybe there's like an internal freak out and we sabotage it, we don't accept it. We find ways, we find reasons. And so we let it go. We only accept, and I said that earlier, right? We accept the love that we think we deserve. And it can be a job, it can be an opportunity. You get an opportunity for a promotion, but you don't view yourself as capable, so you don't take it. It's any of that. And so there's something within the self that has to change in order for us to allow ourselves sometimes to take those things, for those things to become our actual real life experienced reality. Sometimes we take those things before we're ready for them, and in the experience we find out how ready we actually are. It all comes down to the self, and again, our capacity to receive. Our capacity to receive. But again, it's more than just our capacity, because we can have a great capacity to receive, but our willingness to do so just isn't there. So capacity and willingness / ability. It's all about that. Again, the above is capable of providing anything and everything. It's the below that can be the limiting sort of the bottleneck in that experience. And so it becomes more within, without than above, below. And so we work on our relationship on the without and the within, because there's an internal relationship that we work on, and then the external relationship that we also work on, that then we're capable of receiving more from above. And it almost takes me back to this cross. Like there's this dynamic and polarity. There's this polarity, the Leo Aquarius polarity, and then there's the Taurus Scorpio polarity within the dynamic of fixed modality, within the fixed modality dynamic. So it speaks of how polarities work with other polarities, and that's how we literally like build out dimensions, right? Two-dimensional is just like X. No, one-dimensional is just X. It's a line. Two-dimensional is X and Y. Now we have two polarities that fill out this table. 3 dimensions is the Z, so now we get depth and a thickness. So the more polarities we add to something, the more dimensionality there is to it. So in that way, can we interact with higher dimensionalities with a struggle or an ability to reconcile certain polarities? Maybe, maybe not. Because there are nearly 2-dimensional things that exist within the 3-dimensional world that we live in. Like, look at this. See how flat this is? This thing is basically 2-dimensional because it's so flat. In reality, is it 2-dimensional? No, because there is a thickness to it, but that thickness is negligible as compared to my glasses case, which is a little dusty and a lot thicker. This is obviously 3-dimensional. But if I get on an airplane, does it even exist? Can I even see it from the sky? You know what I mean? Anyway. Maybe there was something there. Maybe I lost it in the metaphor. But it feels like... And it's not to dissolve those polarities either. Because it feels like dissolved polarity is like, what, 0-dimensional? It's not even one. It's not even a line. It's a point. I don't know. Don't ask me. Literally, don't ask me, because I'm not paying attention to the chat. So, like, the chat isn't even visible on my screen right now. So that's why I put not chatting in the text box. I adapted some of Rob's techno wizardry. I've never used these before, I don't think. I was like, oh, snap. Who won this came back out? With the heart portal at the bottom of the deck. 30 and 20. Receptivity. generosity and mistrusting when out of balance. Perfect. I feel like that summarizes all of it. Receptivity, because I feel like the generosity tends or lends more to what came out when I pulled cards for astrology. When it was like, if we're stuck in the Four of Pentacles sort of state to the point where we're not participating in the flow, then internal stagnancy or centralized stagnancy starts to spread and it manifests as decay. But it's in that open flow, Six of Pentacles, that, there's a flow of nutrients that is the Seven of Pentacles. As the water travels from the roots up to the tops of the plant and the air is taken in at the leaves and it travels down, the exchange of gases and waters and foods that are built, I guess they use the air to build the sugars that travel down. It's not raw gas that's necessarily traveling through the plants, but it's the products of those gases as it chains together carbons and oxygens and hydrogens to create carbohydrates, those sugars, right? Anyway, we're Sagittarius. Let me look at Advakiel, Angel of Sagittarius. I didn't pull the Angelarium year ones though, so I can't do that. But anyway, the generosity goes back more towards the first. And then the divine masculine with the mistrusting, I feel like that just like the divine masculine can be the manipulating, the mistrusting also goes back to what the Whispers of Lord Ganesha came out with when it came to nurture and acceptance. It was also just in that when we trust ourselves to do our part and we trust others to do their part, and so we can have more trust in the thing as a whole. How trust was under empowerment when I first pulled this deck out. But that's when it's closed. Again, that's when it's out of balance. It's mistrusting. It's mistrusting. It's incapable of receiving, and it's not very generous. It doesn't give. And so it has no room to welcome the very things that it wishes for and desires. Because too much, that energy being overcluttered, can also lead to decay. Right? Stagnancy breeds festering, breeds pestilence, breeds war and famine and all of the other horsemen. Just like any one horseman can, I'm sure, bring the rest of them. Am I done now? No, because I wanted to use the Osho Zen Tarot. I also wanted to use the Tao Oracle cards, but since I didn't pull the Tao Oracle cards out, I'm going to use the Spirit Keeper's Tarot because they have I Ching correspondences that I'll have to look up a bit more because I didn't pull the Vitruvian edition. I didn't pull the Revelations edition. I pulled the Vitruvian edition, and it doesn't have it on the card, but that's fine because I got my little book right here, and I also have the Book of Maps on my phone that I can look up. So I'll say the Spirit Zen. No, we'll just say Osho. Keepers of Osho. I don't know. I'll just say Osho because 153. 35. And the timestamps are a little tighter because I have the sticky note right under the time. I don't have to open up I don't have to click on edit in the YouTube browser and then not be able to see what time it is and try to guess like, oh, it'll take me. Shout out to Kuan Yin. Her energy, oh my gosh, it came out in the Revelations, in the SKT Revelations, and I could not think of her name. I felt so bad. I'm like, I remember Kuan Yin all the time. I can remember Om Mani Padme Hum, and the jewel comes from the lotus, but I can't remember Kuan Yin. Oof. But shout out to her. Oh, okay. Work. I will take it. Ordinariness. The Eight of Rainbows. Sometimes we feel we're so ordinary that we don't even see how extraordinary we actually are. Or we get so accustomed to certain things that their beauty is lost on us. Because these trees are gorgeous. Oof, you can't even see. Can you even see? That tree, both of those trees are gorgeous, but it's something that the person is just like used to. The card that came out is Beyond Illusion. Ooh. Beyond the illusion of ordinariness lies the miraculous. Wait, I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm going to give this a few shuffles, and then I'm going to pull the card Before and After Apocalypse, Judgment, 20, Beyond Illusion, and the Eight of Pentacles. What is the Eight of Pentacles? The Journeyman, the Eight of Orbs, Eight of Rainbows, Ordinariness. Let me cut that right there. I'm going to pull it from the top. The Corruptor, the Defector, and the Shining Dew. Ooh, I love it. I love it. So this is coming off of the last one, the Corruptor, the Seven of Cups. We were at between the Nine of Cups and the Ten of Cups, right? And so this is everything that we had to walk away from. The Corruptor. This has the 7 animals that represent the 7 deadly sins. The Eight of Cups following these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars. Oh, wait, there's 3 more. So there's actually 9 stars. There's a group of 6 over here. There's 3 over here. There's 3 right here. There's 12 stars. There's 2 more right there. 14 stars. 1, 2, 3. Is that another star? Or is that the mountain? Is that a star under that cup? On the left? I can't tell. It looks like it might be the bottom of a star. Maybe not, though. Well, there's a star behind. Nope, it's not. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Potentially 15. But some of these stars are behind. There's a concentration of stars in the direction that the person is going, though. Anyway, sorry. Venus and Scorpio. Oh my gosh. Venus is in Aquarius. Saturn and Pisces. Venus and Scorpio, Saturn and Pisces, the shining dew, waters and waves. I'm gonna. There is no axe of Shiva in the Corruptor in the Vitruvian edition. So the fact that the axe of Shiva isn't here means that this might be something that the divine didn't necessarily or won't necessarily participate in the destruction of. We have to walk away from it. Whenever we have to walk away from something, whenever intervention fails because we have to walk away from something, that's an internal thing. It feels a little bit more internal than like somehow I managed to always end up in these situations. Like, how did I get here? Because it's like if you leave one and you go right to the next one and it's the same as the last one. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I've never gotten that from this card before. Interestingly enough, I've always noticed that the horse is looking away from the cup, that it is the bearer of, the knight of. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Who am I looking for? I'm looking for you. The Lovers with Apocalypse. And then I'm also looking for the Journeyman. Hold up. What's this string of majors? Oh, come through Piscean energy in the worst way. Not the worst way. So we have the bread of life, Ace of Pentacles, which is like, it could be, speaking of ordinariness, this person just going about their day, and then this whole Ace of Pentacles drops, just blips through the veil. Here's an opportunity that will completely change your life. It has the potential to completely change your life. Then we have Justice, the Chancellor, followed by the Outlaw, which is the Hanged Man. Then we have the Moon, the Hanged Man, Water, Neptune, Pisces, the Moon, Pisces. Followed by that is the Magician, and then New World Order, the World. See, this person, going back to all of this, but more so this, the Defector. Eight of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, maybe. The person in the bread of life going about their day when the potential, the opportunity for a whole new, for things to change and change and change and change, for the season to shift, to get out of that, but they might not. Again, I think with Justice and the Hangman, this is very much so going back to, and the Moon, going back to, we accept the love we think we deserve, but more than just love, we accept anything, almost everything in life that we think we deserve. Which is why, sometimes we might view people as getting more or better than they deserve, but they know they deserve it, so they get it. It doesn't matter what we think they deserve. Because if they think they deserve the best and we think we don't deserve nothing, then whose fault is it that they got more than you got? Is that your fault for, not realizing that you're worth a little bit more, or is it their fault for going after and believing that they can do the things that they want to do? And I watched a little bit of the Three of Cups on Mama D's channel yesterday in bits and pieces. Well, not in bits and pieces. I just watched a little bit. And Queen Cup, Destiny, said something about how it's confidence in the alchemist, and how there can be bad people who get great things because they're confident that they can get it, and so they get it. And then there can be good people who don't get as many good things because they're not confident. It's the confidence more so sometimes than like the karma or what is just, what is right. You know what I mean? Not necessarily that energy, but kind of that energy. And it's like with Justice being blind, Justice, not in every deck is blind. I have a deck that Justice is not blind in. But with Justice being blind in this deck and with the Hangman here, again, it's like, here's this whole opportunity that we don't even take, that we might not even see. Again, going back to the oneness that was the oneness, the third eye portal, and the emotional freedom, because of the things that we see ourselves as. Maybe we view ourselves as ordinary. And so because we view ourselves as ordinary and our lives as ordinary, we don't even see, register, recognize these extraordinary miracle making moments. And again, with Justice and the Hangman and the Moon, it comes back to the things that we feel that we don't deserve because we see ourselves as a shadow of what we actually are. And so we only allow the tiniest portion, fraction, fragment, piece, part of all that we have to potentially experience. And then we come into the Magician and New World Order. If we're following that train and we come to the Magician and New World Order, it's almost like this is the divine, this is the universe in some ways actively stepping in to make things better. This is the thing that we pray for, that we hope for. We've actually manifested the very miracle, but we don't take it. And so with the Magician and New World Order, it's like when the divine brings this opportunity, that is the world that, like, that's the life that we are now slated to experience. But when we don't take it and we create and recreate this lesser version because of what we think we deserve, we've now created this whole new life that isn't the one that we were manifesting or praying for or wishing for, because that's the opportunity that we never took. that opportunity that was for us. And I personally believe that, yes, if something is meant for you, it can't pass you by. It is yours. But I also simultaneously and concurrently believe that we have the ability to pass up things that are for us. If I pull $1,000 out of my wallet and I give it to you, that $1,000 is yours, is meant for you. But if you don't accept it for whatever reason, it's gone. And if I choose to go spend it on something else, then I have that right. I have that freedom. And if you come tomorrow and you're like, well, where's that $1,000? I'm like, well, I spent it because you said you didn't want it. And you're like, what? How could you spend that? Like you said it was mine, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Yeah, but like you refused it. When I get $1,000 more, like I can give you, like when I get paid, I can give you $1,000 if you want that $1,000. But the $1,000 that I had to give you yesterday, maybe I spent it, maybe I offered it to someone else. You said you didn't want it. You passed up on it. When I get more, I can give it to you. It's fine. It's no problem. It might not be immediately available and accessible to you in the moment that you decide you want it, because there's a timing to everything. There's a season and a cycle to everything. And maybe when you come back out of season. And again, it's not to say that that thing won't come back, but all of this is to say that I believe that, yes, there are things that are meant for us. And I also believe that, yes, we can forfeit, sacrifice, pass up on, refuse to accept those very things. And so they might not be available in the timing that we now want them. And that's what this feels like. It feels like that opportunity was there, but it was passed up in order for us to create a whole new world in which it exists outside of the one that was sort of offered. And maybe us creating a whole new world is as simple as, again, now we have to wait for the next opportunity. So that life-changing opportunity, while it could have changed our lives in that moment, and there was a whole chain of events that was set to a whole line of dominoes, a whole bunch of dominoes that were lined up that were set to fall as soon as we pushed the first one. Now it's like, okay, well, we're going to reshuffle the board and we're going to make something else. We're going to reset up the dominoes because they didn't want them and somebody else is going to use this room. I don't know. Space is not finite, but for the sake of the metaphor and for the sake of lived life and the seasons and cycles and timing that we experience, because if anything involves someone else, now it's more than just our timing. The divine was going to use someone to bless us. If the divine was going to use me to bless you with $1,000, if you would consider $1,000 a blessing, but because you refuse it, that money goes elsewhere. Like, I have my own timing. I have my own bills. I have my own thrills to pay for. I'm my own person. And so now I'm going to go and do with that what I'm going to do. And maybe the same divine will use someone else to give you that $1,000. And it'll be in their timing. And so I think, too, it's for us to be aware of that limitation of our perception. The thing that we rejected or refused at one time, it might come back to us through someone else. And if we're so focused and fixed on that particular experience, then we might find ourselves repeating the pattern of, again, refusing and rejecting that life-changing miracle moment because we think now, but now it's like, instead of us thinking that we're like worthy and deserving of less, now we think it's going to come from a particular person, place, or thing. And so when it comes in a different way, we refuse it the second time. And depending on us, I guess, and depending on what will be and what is meant to be and who and how everything is queued up and lined up or whatever, we can continually refuse and reject because it's not the specific person, place, or thing, until we realize one day now maybe that we have to walk away from receiving our more through that specific person, place, or thing. And so now we got to be open to, receiving it from someone or somewhere else. And then who's to say that it won't come from that specific person, place, or thing after we reach the point where we're like, okay, it's going to come from somewhere else. And then we refuse it again. That's why ultimately, like, it leads us to this flow. And in the flow, there's an understanding and a knowing. Like, we'll know when that time is, and we'll know there'll be resonance where it is. And I think in some ways we always know. Sometimes it's a matter of us being in a space to accept it because of how we view ourselves, or us being in a space to accept it because of where we want it to come from. And it may not come from there, it might. I don't know. That's between, the divine and the universe and spirit and you, if you choose to be a part of that conversation. But it's like, it's very much the story of the dude who was in the flood. And as the waters rose, someone comes by in a boat and they're like, hey, you need a lift? And he's like, no. And the waters continue to rise. So he goes onto his roof, and then the helicopters come. And then, everyone and everything is coming to answer his prayer. He's like, no, God's got me. God's got me. You don't have to save me. God's got me. And then the dude drowns. He goes to heaven. And then he's like, yo, angel at the pearly gates, like, it's not my time. What gives? Like, God, like, y'all were supposed to have me. And the angel's like, well, we sent the boat. We sent the helicopters. We sent that one angel that was literally like, I am the angel that is here to answer your prayers. But it wasn't God. So you refused it. And now you're here. You know what I mean? Take it as it resonates, if it resonates, when it resonates, as it resonates for you. And if it don't, then don't take it. The Nocturne, Two of Pentacles. That's the Two of Pentacles that kept creeping out below the Five of Cups. It was the Two into the Three of Pentacles. She's here now. Oh, and look, there's the Giver. Moon in Taurus. Six of Pentacles. So hopefully we're out of the energy of the Four. The bottom of the deck is the Scarlet Shield, which is the Queen of Swords, which was the Knight of Swords into the Queen of Swords. Okay. I was like, I know I've seen the Queen of Swords energy here. It was between the Knight and the Queen that happened in between oneness and exploration. Oof. Power and authority of air is the Scarlet Shield. And there's another moon. Moon in Aquarius is the Rogue, Seven of Swords, below this Queen of Swords. Which again sort of goes back to like, that which is for you, that which is meant for you is yours. It cannot be taken by anyone else, but it can be forfeited and sacrificed by you. It can't be taken, it can't be stolen, but it can be forfeited. It can be given up of your own volition. It can be given up of your own choice, because your choices are honored. So if you choose to not receive when it's offered, like, oh, look, and there's the Emperor. Okay, sure. We'll leave you on the table because you also made an appearance. Oof. What if that's low-key the divine, like, well, I'm trying to teach you that your choices, like, matter, and that they, because of your choices, things happen. So if you choose to sacrifice it and give it up, you chose that sacrifice. You don't necessarily get to choose, okay, I want that thing now. Bring it back. It's mine. It's like, no, it's gone. That thing has its own time. There's so much, even the things that aren't people or plants or animals in life. Like, life itself is organic. It's growing. Everything. Well, it's I say it's growing. By it's growing, it's proceeding in its seasons and cycles. So if it comes into a season of death, or if it comes to the end of its cycle, then its growth would be its dying, because that is what's next in its timeline. Right? Things don't exist on our time. The divine doesn't exist on our time. So we don't get to be like, oh yeah, I choose that now, and then boom, it's there. Not always. Sometimes, yes, some things are left there. You know what I mean? Like if I have a birthday card that says your name on it, I'm not gonna get, well, unless there's someone else that has your exact name. But I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Sometimes we hold things for people. It's like, okay, you don't want it today, but when you want it, it will be there for you. You bet not have came on my video to see if I was live. I ain't even paying attention to the chat. I'm hungry. This will be the last one. Like, that's the power of our choice to sacrifice it. That's the power of our choice to give it away. And when we choose to take it, now we'll be put on a trajectory that almost continues the continuity. Continuity is an interesting concept if we're talking about those life-changing miracle moments that's presented at the Ace of Pentacles, that we were just like so far in our ordinariness that we didn't even see. But maybe too, because with the Emperor down here, that almost gives an energy of being so decisive that we can, I don't want to say accelerate the season. We can take that which has passed. And it means, like, you know, there's a movie or a real life experience where there's someone who gets an audition for something and life happened and they missed their audition, right? And so they're like, this is my moment. This is my opportunity. I am going to audition for you. You're going to love me and I'm going to win the whole thing. And so they somehow manage that audition. They somehow manage to show their talent after the allotted time. And then things end up working out for them. So again, things can work in any number of ways. I am a person who holds sometimes seemingly opposite beliefs simultaneously. I believe in paradox. I think we all believe in paradox a lot more than maybe we are consciously aware and cognizant that we do. I know we all believe in paradox. Okay, I think we all believe in paradox, because it would be bold of me to think that I know that everyone believes anything. Well, do we believe in paradox, or are we just hypocrites? That's a question. Well, if you're can you be a hypocrite and not believe in paradox? I don't know. Anyway, so let's see. We have the Nocturne and the Tower on either side of the journeyman that is ordinariness. And I love that this is like seeing the beautiful and the miraculous, seeing the miraculous and extraordinary within the ordinary. Because this is a person in the forest, and look, they're similar settings. I'll say they're similar settings. You know, there's trees in both of them. There's the regular tree, and then the mystical magical tree. Well, there's a whole forest of mystical magical trees that lies beyond the living wand. Anyway, Jupiter and Capricorn with Mars. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, I believe. And people say Mars and Saturn don't get along. See, that's the power of Saturn, though. I feel like Mars and Saturn get along because Mars has a respect for Saturn. Saturn has an understanding of Mars. Saturn knows that everyone and everything has a place. Saturn knows everyone and everything. And so Saturn can find the place for Mars to still be Mars, but contribute in a way that is meaningful, beneficial, and impactful. And it feels like a care that Mars doesn't get from a lot of other energies. It feels like a level of understanding and acceptance and nurturing, acceptance, and then the eventual achievement. It feels like a level of care, again, that Mars doesn't get from anyone else. It's like no one cares to get to know Mars enough. It's like no one ever wondered why Mars acts out in the way that Mars acts, or why Mars does the things that Mars does. And so whenever Mars shows up, everyone else just gets annoyed. But Saturn's like, hold up, wait, like there are things that Mars can do. There are things that only Mars can do. And there are things that you need for Mars to do. So it would actually behoove you to show Mars a little bit of respect and to learn Mars and to learn how to work with Mars rather than just seeing it as, everything that we've seen Mars as. And that's why Mars and Saturn, in my astrological view of the energetic world, actually have a very beneficial relationship. And it would explain, again, why Mars is exalted in Capricorn at the foundation. You have the energy of the burst of the buds and the blooming of spring exalted in Capricorn, which is the basic building block foundation, ground zero of Earth energy. Like, hello, duh. Not duh, sorry. But I had a whole falling out with astrology in 2020. I think, yeah, it was in 2020. Because there were transits, and I would hear people talk about, like, oh, Mars is going to be in Pisces. So, everything is an illusion because Pisces is so detached from reality. So nothing that Mars does in Pisces is going to matter, because when Mars goes into Aries, it's going to realize that it was all an illusion. Meanwhile, one day I'm pulling a card every day. I see Mars in Pisces as the whole gosh darn 10 of cups. And I'm like, are you serious? I've seen so many astrologers talk about how don't do anything while Mars is in Pisces because none of it is real. It is all an illusion. And that is literally the 10 of cups. That's literally the action that is required to make a dream reality. Mars is in Capricorn. Mars is an aspect with Saturn. So you're going to feel like no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get ahead in life. You're going to feel repressed and suppressed in every direction. And it's like Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Maybe we just don't know how to use Martian energy. And then Mars went to Aries and Mars retrograded in Aries. And people are like, wait until Mars goes into Aries. And it's like, okay, well, did you do all of the things that, you held off on doing when Mars was in Pisces? Did that work any better for you? Did you go miles and miles and miles when Mars was in Aries, or no? And it's like there are so many gifts. And I guess that goes back to what we've become accustomed to and perspective and everything like that. It's like so much of almost anything can be used as a benefit. Some medicine, some of the most, I guess, effective or miraculous of medicines can be extremely toxic and deadly if taken in too much of a quantity. It's about learning how to work with the energy. But no, let's just let it pass us by and continue to be stuck. And when we hit a spot where it's supposed to be favorable or it's supposed to be energetically whatever, oh, surprise, the thing didn't actually happen. Oh, I know, collective, that you're feeling this and you're feeling that. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was just like, what? Like that energy had the potential to be so gorgeous. That energy had the potential to be exactly what we needed, but we let it go. It's fine. The Archangel of Healing is coming out with the Lovers Beyond Illusion. When we love something, more often than not, I guess it depends on the person, but love has exactly what I was saying about Saturn. It has the potential and the capability. It has the patience and the desire to want to understand. When love is blind, it can overlook flaws. When love is keenly aware, it learns to accept them. And depending, it learns that it's like, these flaws are not, it's nothing to, whatever. What you view as a flaw might actually be a relief. Somebody else might actually love your flaws. Somebody else might love the things about yourself that you view as flaws. And vice versa, Again, these two have been coming out quite a bit together lately. Or within the context of the same spread, because here we have the Kabbalah Tree of Life where Malkut is not connected to your sign. Here's the Tree of Life where it's complete from Keter to Malkuth. And then we have the Archangel of Healing. The Archangel of Healing feels like it's not enough to just put this orb under that one. There's this bond, there's this connection between these two and these two, between what Netza and Hod and Yesod. Like Malkut connects directly to all of them. Those bonds have to be mended, they have to be reconnected. But it feels like it might be a little bit of an energetic, I guess I'll say rewrite, or it redefines those bonds in a way to establish a new sort of flow. And what I like about this is, again, there are three of these orbs, one, two, three, all three of these, one, two, three, that are going to connect to Malkuth when it gets put in its proper position. Again, with this orb and the journeyman, after we reach a certain level within our ability to interact with the world in a way to move it forward and more desirable to us, or just to interact with the world in a way, we get access to the living wand. So in both of these, we see the orb in the tree. The snake is around this tree. This living wood or ivy is around the rod in this wand. We have to broaden our understanding, maybe enough to incorporate what was outside into the picture with everything else. And what I like is that the Archangel of Healing, this cup, this watery energy, is coming out to heal these connections or reestablish or establish for the first time these connections that are non existent here. And we have three cups right here, three cups, three orbs. So on one side, it's the removal of corruption, connecting Hod to Malkut. In the middle, it's the defector connecting Yesod to Malkut, walking away from everything that we know, with Yesod being one of the points where it's the point before Malkut where a lot of the emanations meet, but they also meet outside of Malkut because you can see they come down into Yesod here. But again, they also have a connection outside of Yesod. But anyway. And then connecting Netza to Malkut is the Shining Dew. Don't ask me about the Kabbalah Tree of Life besides that, because my knowledge of the Kabbalah Tree of Life is pretty much literally the Angelarium. That was my introduction to it, and my sole source of, I mean, I've Googled a little bit here and there, but my understanding of the Tree of Life isn't complete. But that's how I'm seeing it. I'm doing the reading. I'm in communication and communion with Spirit right now, and so they will show me and give me how I can see and perceive. And I also, especially when I feel it's more appropriate to distance my personal self from it, I'm capable of doing it, even though I'll probably tell you that I don't like it or that I personally don't disagree. I was like, I don't necessarily believe and see it this way, but this is what Spirit is saying through the cards. And I will also admit my limited knowing and understanding and my limited perspective as well. I'm in my own, like, allowing life in the world to be better and re-examining. I don't know if re-examining is the word. It's just like an allowance, and that's my word for 2022. It's allow. Um, it's an allowance of things to be different than they were before. So if I encounter something within someone, I'm not necessarily like, oh, well, last time I encountered someone like this, it went down like that. Or every time I met someone like blah, 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 whatever before, like this usually followed. Not that I was ever necessarily the type of person that wouldn't allow for someone themselves to show me who they are. Um, but the difference sometimes can be astounding. And so I continue to be more and more open. Anyway, having said all that, since this is coming out with beyond illusion, the illusion is that they're disconnected in the first place. So, in our mending and reestablishing these bonds, we may very well discover that they are still there. In fact, they were never disconnected. I think, too, there's an undertone of the monopolization of power and choice and control. There's like old, shady, or high refined energy in here about who it's like when we surrender choice to an individual or to an entity more so like um, a conglomeration of individuals, like a faith or a political party or anyone, any collection of anyone's that govern and decide things for people. It's like that's where that choice then lies. And so we don't actually choose. Like if you're like, oh, this person is really smart, so I'm going to do what they say because they're smart. You're not choosing, they're choosing. And you're giving them the power to choose for you when you constantly and consistently align your choice to theirs because flat reason they're smart. Okay, they're smart, but they're not, omniscient. They're smart, but they don't have, the ability to perceive all of time in general at all to know how every sort of choice, action, and reaction is going to play out. They can't perceive consequence beyond what they have the ability to perceive consequence as. And that's not to say that we can't defer to someone who's more to the judgment of someone who's more knowledgeable at certain times because yeah, of course, like there are a bunch of things that I don't know that I don't necessarily feel that I have to know. If someone says something that makes sense and it resonates and I can trust it, then yeah. If I have my own questions or if I need to dig into it for myself to find out what I believe, then I can do that. And there are people I don't know if I've ever found anyone. I'm pretty sure I've never found anyone that I 100% agree with on everything. And I've never found anyone that I feel comfortable like, oh yeah, you say it, okay. Maybe for some things, if I view them as knowledgeable in a specific area, yeah. But for everything, oh no. That would be irresponsible of me to put my life in someone else's hands in that way. Because we all have our own limitations. You know what I mean? But anyway, I don't even necessarily remember where that energy was coming from exactly. There was something about the emperor down here with this six of orbs right here. Beyond the illusion, seeing these things as disconnected when they really aren't. But it's because of perception and stuff like that that we view it that way. And if we can't perceive it, then maybe we can't interact with it because we don't even know it's there. It's like, if you're constantly cutting your fruits by hand and one day someone's like, why don't you use the fruit slicer? And you're like, what are you talking about? And they're like the one that's like literally right next to the knives. And you're like, oh, is that what that was? And they're like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay. Now because you're aware of it, you can use that. But it was like it was there the whole time. Maybe you didn't see it, maybe you didn't know what it was. But it was never gone. Oh, because it feels like it was made to seem like it was. That's the illusion. And it's one of the cards in the Discology. It's like a well-crafted illusion. Um, a speck of dust blowing in the breeze, searching for an open eye or something like that. It's like the illusion isn't actually that good. The illusion just plays on things that we either already believe or things that we want to believe. But it's like if you were anyone else, you would see right through it. And it's those illusions that have enabled corruption to spread as far, as wide, and as fast as they have, to the point where there are things that we wouldn't even think to see as corrupt because it's become ordinary, because we're used to it. That's the way the world is. That's how things work. The axe of Shiva is here. The axe of Shiva that removes corruption is there. But just like the defector Eight of Pentacles, or the defector Eight of Cups had to walk away from the corruption, it's like the divine doesn't interfere until the point where either A, it has to because of the balance at large, or once we reach whatever spot we're supposed to reach within ourselves, then it's like, oh, this is a lesson that you don't have to learn anymore. Removed. You already know how to take care of it, so we don't need you to. You already know the basics of arithmetic, so you can use a calculator because we know you know how to do the math. And if for whatever reason you find yourself in a space where you don't have the calculator, where it's not done for you, we're confident that you can do it and get the correct answer. It also feels like with that approach, we get to, with the Emperor being the pruner that Russ, I know Russ calls the Emperor the pruner. We get to sort of prune our experience in ways. And where's the pruning coming out? I don't know. It was just in here. Sometimes I lose myself that way too. I'm like, oh, like here's this energy, but I saw a card or a group of cards, or like the conversation just naturally flowed in that direction while I was looking at a card in particular. And then I focus too much on trying to anchor it to the card, and then I forget what I was saying. And then I try to look at the card, and I'm like, what were you telling me? And it's like, it wasn't the card. You just looked at the card when it came. So that's something that I need to, I'm consciously aware. I've been consciously aware that I need to do lesson readings, but I still have the habit of doing it anyway. Trying to tie it so much to a thing that I sometimes lose it. Sometimes it comes back. Sometimes it comes back after I shut down the video. And then I might come back the next day or 3 days later and be like, hey, you know, like the thing I was talking about in the last video? Well, I was doing this random thing and it came back to me. Anyway, it was the axe of Shiva that removes the corruption. There's the volcano exploding in the back. So this is a little bit of a Ragnarok energy. When the serpent releases its tail and the volcano blows, then and only then will the divine step in a way that encroaches upon the sanctity that is our rights of choice when it comes to life. And just because you forfeit your choice or you defer your decisions to someone else doesn't mean you don't have them. Because that's a choice that you're making with your choice. And again, I don't necessarily, I mean, you will interact with choice and decision making in the way that you interact with choice and decision making. I personally believe that I don't have to be aware of every single thing, because that there's more happening in the world than my brain's ability to hold. But if something comes to my awareness, I can educate myself. I can find people that I trust. You know what I mean? And just because I find someone that I trust, there are people that I trust in their ability to like get and gather information. There are people who I trust in their education, but I might not necessarily make the same decisions and I might not arrive at the same conclusions with the same information that they do. You know what I mean? Anyway. I guess I'm done with this. That's kind of ended up in a place that I didn't necessarily want it to, but that's fine. No, I didn't want to be like, nah, 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 nah. But I think sometimes it's also necessary. Oh, I saw that Page of Swords. I see the Initiate and I see the Giver. The Page of Swords behind the Corruptor. Stronghold of the Zephyrs. Oh, look, and then there's the Page of Pentacles. This deck is like, we've got more messages. We've got more messages. The Nine of Cups. Wish granted. Jupiter in Pisces. Love it. You know what the Ten of Cups is? Mars in Pisces. Let me stop. That really did like upset me though. Because I'm like, y'all are people with platforms. Like, y'all are people that people look to. Y'all are people that people defer their own judgment to. And it's not to say that you're wrong. Just because I think one thing should be said doesn't mean that you should say it. For me, that I was in a time, it was my experience within my journey at that point to find people who were saying things that I did not agree with, number one, and to not find people who were saying what I felt should be said, because that was the point where I was coming into my own voice. And if I had heard anyone else saying it, if I had heard anything otherwise, I would have never started to use my own voice. My North Node is in Sagittarius, so it was bound to happen eventually. My North Node is also in my 8th house. So it was bound to happen eventually. Bottom of the deck again is the Knight that you can lead to the water, the Knight that you could lead to its own element, but not make it participate in the exercising of that element, the Shining Dew, and the Chariot with the Hector. There's that Venus in Aquarius, Five of Swords again. And it's interesting that I felt that little like twinge or tinge, that little tinge of old, more toxic Hierophantic energy, because the first one, Five of Swords and the Hierophant, came out together. Luke's et Veritas, light and truth. The Chariot of Osiris and the Five of Swords. Who's at the bottom of the deck? The Shining Dew. This is making me think of Had and Netza, the left leg submission and right leg endurance on the Kabbalah Tree of Life, and how it's the dynamic between both of those that allow us to walk through life with grace, according to, again, the Angelarium Oracle of Emanations. Not saying it's right, just saying that even if I Googled it, Google ain't necessarily going to be more right than this dude, because, you know, I'm not initiated into that to know, like, what's this really mean? Like, what's this really mean, and what are we telling people who Google it? You know what I mean? Is that no thingness? No, it was aloneness. Oof. Aloneness is very different than no thingness. It could look similar, but it's very different. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely, because you can be by yourself and not be lonely. You can be with a whole bunch of other people and feel alone. Politics. Politics, the seven of the mind. Politics, it feels more like the process more than the thing. Meaning, when we're confronted with so many different things in our daily life as we grow, just singularly, even if we don't come in contact with conflicting pieces of information, it feels like politics is just the process of the human mind assimilating information and experiences and everything to form opinions and beliefs and everything else. It's like literally the process of how we sift through information and we decide this sounds like it makes sense, this sounds like it doesn't make sense. I know this doesn't make sense at all, but for some reason that's how things are. I don't get it. But that appears, that's how it appears to be. And I don't know, hierophant, and it just feeling, it feels like there is an energy that is aware of internal. It's not even internal politics. There's an energy that's aware of the politics of living life, especially a life where there are so many different truths, and it feels like there's an energy that will like take advantage of that, and then it becomes the energy of politics where we see it in the negative light that we see it. It's the manipulation of information. It's the specific wording. It's the ethos, pathos, and logos that people use to rhetoricize their way into our brains and hearts and minds, and maybe even sometimes souls, I guess. I don't know. Well, I don't know if they could actually like penetrate the soul, but it would affect our perception of our own soul. And that's probably more important, if not as important, than what it actually is, if that's what we believe it is. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it feels like there's an energy that's aware of how the human mind operates, and it will use that to get us to co-sign and agree with things that don't actually serve us, that aren't actually to our benefit. And it feels like when we're out of all of the energy that came out with everything under the astrology timestamp in the first group of cards I pulled, when we're out of that nurturing acceptance of ourselves and others and all of that, it makes it easier for us to sort of like buy into some of these things that if we really thought about it with all of our senses or more of our senses, we would realize like it doesn't make sense. Like if the heart, and that's the easiest one for me to go to. I'm sure there are other ways that this manifests, there are other applications of it. But it's like if the heart was really online and if the heart was really feeling and connected, like some of the things that we're told or some of the things that we believe, it'd just be like, no, like, what are you talking about? But then the politics comes in. It's like, well, there's the heart, there are the ways that I care for other people, but I also have to weigh that against my own desire for growth and the fulfillment of my ambitions and my ability to whatever. That's internal politics, when we have to weigh like someone else's well-being against our own, or we feel like we have to. That's the illusion. um or when it's like, if I am to get, if someone else gets more of something, then that's limiting my opportunities and access to those resources because everything is finite. So although I do think you deserve this, I don't know if I necessarily think you deserve it enough for me to go without. And again, it's like, it feels like there are some of these things, like if we brought more of ourselves to the table in terms of like compassion and empathy, and also like more of those base egoic things. But like this is all a part of the things that, like, with that nurture, acceptance, and everything, when we make those decisions as more complete wholes, that contribute with that Six of Pentacles energy rather than withhold with the Four of Pentacles energy. It's like we would see those solutions. We would see that was the illusion. It's like the illusion, it's not a good illusion at all. It just plays to our comfortabilities and what we believe. And because it satiates us in those ways, we're more willing to believe things that we know as untrue. And we're more willing to defend those things. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it's not about the statement itself, it's about what it all represents. And again, going back to the cross in the 23 to 24 of fixed modalities, it's that point where like ego and humility kind of sort of have to duke it out as we shift our story, as we learn from our experiences, and as we not separate ourselves from our passions, but as we include more than just our passions and desires in those conversations. Because the above is so much more capable of providing than maybe we believe it to be. But we are the bottleneck. We are what can limit how much of that actually comes into our reality and how much of that is our actual experience. And again, it feels like there's an energy out there that knows that. And maybe it's a little cynical to say that it's an energy. Because if there is an energy that is that way, that's just politics. There's an energy that will take advantage of your belief, just like there's an energy that would hope that you believe in the things that get you what you want. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I don't want to say it doesn't matter. But if that's true, then that's a conversation that exists outside of us. And so while it has everything to do with us because it has the ability to affect our experience, at the same time, it has nothing to do with us. And so we decide within ourselves. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. I don't know. I was going to get a more final card and final message, but I feel like that pretty much summed up, wrapped up, tied together all three of these. And I think in ways it is both bigger and smaller, like more. What's her message? Oh, the seeker. Seeking ye shall find. Sorry. Oh, what was I saying? It's bigger and smaller in a lot of ways. I ain't even I ain't even I Ching. What's this? The Chariot and the Five of Swords. I think the Chariot was on top. So I'll see if this adds anything. So this it's either going to be double wind or double thunder or double. Hold up, wait. I said wind. It's either lake or heaven. This is double heaven. Ooh, what's double heaven? Ooh. Let me look at it. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. I'm actually going to read this in the Vitruvian book. In the Revelation, sorry, I'm going to read it in the Revelation edition instead of the Vitruvian edition. I gotta find it. It might be number 1. Is it number 1? It is number 1. Double heaven is creative power, which I feel like takes me back to that energy of Anyway, let's just read it. Creative power, divine yang. And yang is masculine. Yin is feminine, I'm pretty sure. So this is divine masculine energy coming out again. Creative power, divine yang, and its chin. Ruling a splendorous kingdom, bestowed with the graces of heaven and furthering the endeavor toward greatness. You are a pioneer. You wield both creativity and perseverance. Take pause before you proceed on your endeavor. Do not act on impulse. Instead, be receptive to the directive power of heaven over you. You want to be assured of your course of action before you proceed. Once you are assured of your course of action, act swiftly, firmly, and with conviction. Sublime success shall be yours. And that's on page 600. There's the natural 6 that would not come out that I had to go and find, which came out as exploration. But yeah, I hope you have a good whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality, and whatever you need to get where you're going, I hope you get it. I hope you can accept it. I hope that, whatever. You know what I mean? So I will catch you next time I catch you. This was fun. Might not do it again. Might do it again. Who knows? I might actually flesh out something and plan it and then come on with a little bit more of a direction. Because I feel like sometimes when I just leave it open, it's fine. I end up in this just like, not chili pepper, but I don't know. Oh, I also have, speaking of Jungian psychology, I don't have the deck, but I have the book for the Wild Unknown Archetypes. And I want to open a page of it, and I'm going to ask Siri. I don't know how many pages are in the book. I don't know if it's actually going to give me an entry or what, but we'll see. Hey, Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 300.
A random number between 1 and 300 is 95.
So we're going to page 95. Is there anything on page 95? Yep. 95 is the lover. Aw, going back to the lovers. The heart, the beloved, the devoted. Pulsing through the heart of the lover is gratitude. The lover appreciates and experiences the world through the senses, reveling in beauty, song, art, music, sense, and sensuality. This energy awakens at the tip of our tongue when we taste the sweetness of honey, kiss a lover, or speak gentle words to a child. The lover lingers in foreplay, aroused not by the getting there, but by the slow merging of self and other. This energy is usually experienced for short periods of time, as in order to feel it, we must be fully present and awake, with no expectations or rules about what should be. Rather, the lover is in awe of what the world presents, reveling in the glorious details, grateful to savor every last drop of life's offerings. When you hold someone's gaze for several moments, you'll feel the lover within you awaken. It is common to seek the lover in another. The true gift is finding the lover in yourself. The lover archetype is present everywhere, not just where conventional forms of pleasure and beauty are found. The lover's awe is unconditional. So when light, it's connection, expansion, devotion, and awe. When dark, it is indulgence, attachment, and obsession. It's indulgence, sorry. Indulgence, attachment, and obsession. To go deeper, contemplate Aphrodite, Krishna, and Radha. This is funny. So Friday I was at work and someone said OMFG, but like not the letters. They said like, oh my effing God. I'm a child. I don't swear. Okay. They said, oh my effing God. And I was like, who's the effing God? Is that like Aphrodite? So if I say like, oh my Aphrodite, like she's the goddess of love, and according to Greco-Roman mythology, she bedded a lot of people, even though she was wed to Hephaestus. So, oh my Aphrodite, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just thought of that. Friday and it was funny, so I shared it with you. I don't know. All right, bye.